Heaven does not operate randomly. Every move, every moment, every date that stands out in the Spirit is backed by the orchestration of God's perfect timing. And this particular day, March 31, has been highlighted not by emotion or coincidence, but by revelation. Something is shifting, and this day marks the threshold, the kind of threshold that separates what was from what is about to be. Like how Passover marked the night before deliverance, or Pentecost, the birth of the church, March 31 is not meant to be glanced over. It's not a finish line, nor is it just a new beginning. It's a divine intersection. A moment when the realm of heaven leans close to earth and says, now is the time. This isn't just about what will happen externally, it's about what's happening in the unseen, in the soil of your life. In the quiet places where you've sown in tears and waited without recognition, there is something breaking through. This date carries the spiritual significance of Kairos time, God's appointed strategic time where things align, shift, and birth. To be aware of March 31 is not to idolize a number, but to recognize the movement of the Spirit. It's to perceive that something dormant is about to rise. To realize that heaven is preparing to release something that's been held in suspension, waiting for the right hearts, the right hunger, the right level of surrender. This is not hype. This is holy. And when heaven marks a day, it's because it has expectation, not just for what God will do, but how we will respond. You're not being summoned to mark a day on your calendar. You are being called to meet the moment. Just like Abraham recognized the place where he was to sacrifice Isaac, just like Moses turned aside to see the burning bush, just like Jesus said, my hour has come. So now the Spirit says, pay attention. This is a day to posture yourself, a day to draw near, a day to ask God, what are you doing and how do I prepare to partner with it? March 31 is heaven's signal flare, a call to alertness, a call to alignment. You don't need to know everything that will happen on that day, but you do need to be ready. Because when God sets the time, those who are watching and listening will be the ones who walk into it. This call is not for everyone. It's not broadcast to the masses, not shouted from the mountaintops for the casual listener or the spiritually indifferent. This is a call reserved for the chosen. Not the self-appointed, not the externally celebrated, but the ones heaven has marked in silence. The ones whose selection wasn't made in the spotlight, but in the secret place. The chosen are rarely the obvious. They're often the overlooked. They are not chosen because of their appearance, platform, or pedigree. They are chosen because of their posture. The ones who said yes in the dark. The ones who kept walking through the valley. The ones who kept their heart tender while others grew numb. The ones who refused to trade purity for popularity. These are the ones who hear this call, not with their ears, but with their spirit. You may feel like you don't belong in the crowd, like your path has been lonelier, harder, more hidden than others. And maybe that's true, but it's not because you're less, it's because you've been set apart. The process has been different because the purpose is different. The chosen are not common vessels. They are consecrated ones. Their preparation has been deeper because their calling is weightier. Their warfare has been heavier because their influence will stretch further. The chosen carry the scars of obedience, the pain of misunderstanding, and the strength that only comes from enduring when others walked away. If you felt that ache, that disconnect, that sense that you've been walking to the beat of a rhythm others can't hear, it's not in your head. It's heaven calling you to another level. This moment, this call to prepare for March 31 is not for those content to spectate. It's for those who are willing to participate. Those who are ready to burn when others are satisfied with embers. The chosen are not just hearers of prophetic moments. They are responders. They don't wait for confirmation from the crowd. They move when the Spirit stirs. They prepare when no one is watching. They build arks before the rain ever comes. And now they are being summoned again, not because they're better, but because they've been made ready. This isn't about spiritual elitism. It's about spiritual sensitivity. Heaven is looking for those who can carry what is coming. And not everyone can. Not everyone will. So if something in you leaps when you hear this call, if something in your spirit stirs and refuses to be quieted, that's your sign you've been chosen. And that chosenness isn't about applause, it's about assignment. It's not about being elevated, it's about being entrusted. This moment is calling you to step forward, not in pride, but in full surrender. The time of hiding is coming to an end. The time of emergence is at hand. But only the chosen will hear the call before the breakthrough. Only the chosen will prepare before the promise appears. Because they don't need proof to obey, they move by faith. And this is their hour to rise. It's easy to misinterpret the silent seasons, the ones where prayers seem to hang unanswered in the air, the seasons where doors close without explanation, relationships shift without warning, and the promises spoken over your life feel more like distant echoes than present realities. It's tempting in those moments to wonder if you've been forgotten, if somehow, somewhere you missed it. You may have looked around and thought, everyone else is moving forward while I remain stuck in place. But let me tell you what heaven knows, even when you can't see it. You were not being punished, you were being prepared. Preparation from heaven rarely looks glamorous. It's not stages, spotlights, or affirmation. It's often isolation, consecration, and pruning. It's not about being busy, it's about being built. When God is preparing someone for something significant, He doesn't rush, He doesn't cut corners, He digs deep, sometimes so deep that it feels like nothing is happening at all. But beneath the surface, roots are being established. Character is being forged. Faith is being stretched. The very things that will sustain the calling are being formed in silence. The process might not be public, but the fruit will be undeniable. You've been in the hidden place not because you failed, but because you were trusted. Heaven doesn't entrust weighty things to those who can't bear them. So God, in His wisdom, allowed seasons of crushing, not to harm you, but to press out of you what couldn't go into your future. Every closed door, every delay, every detour was divinely purposed. He removed what was unnecessary, refined what was impure, and strengthened what was weak. It wasn't rejection, it was refinement. And where others may have sprinted ahead on shallow ground, you are being rooted deeply, so when the wind comes, you will still be standing. Sometimes the silence is strategic. Sometimes the hiddenness is holy, because it's in the quiet where your motives are purified. It's in the stillness where your ears become attuned to the whisper of God. It's in the waiting that your endurance is stretched until your spirit is strong enough to carry what would have crushed you too soon. God's preparation does not cater to convenience. It calls you to consecration. He doesn't just prepare what's coming to you, He prepares you for what's coming. And here's the beautiful truth. What felt like a holding pattern was actually divine alignment. God was aligning your heart, your identity, your relationships, even your environment, so that when the moment comes, when March 31 arrives, you won't just walk into it by accident. You'll be ready. Ready in spirit, ready in faith, ready in character. The weight of the next thing God is releasing requires vessels that have been tested, not just talented. It requires sons and daughters who can handle visibility without losing their humility, who can carry power without compromising purity. So no, you haven't been stuck, you've been shaped. You haven't been delayed, you've been developed. And you haven't been forgotten, you've been formed. Heaven knows your name, and the time of unveiling is near. When others see the rise, only you and God will know the depth of what it costs to get here. And that depth is what will sustain you for what's next. March 31 is not the end of a journey, it is the ignition point. It is not the culmination of your preparation, but the catalyst for your activation. Many expect breakthrough to come fully formed, wrapped in clarity and comfort. But divine moments rarely arrive that way. When heaven moves, it often does so like the breaking of dawn. Subtle at first, then suddenly all-encompassing. March 31 will not be the final chapter. It is the sound of the page turning. It is the rumble before the release. It is the breath right before the shout. And if you've been discerning the season, you'll recognize that what's about to emerge isn't just about timing, it's about transformation. This moment is like the instant before the sprout pierces the soil. After all the hidden growth, the stretching in the dark, the breaking apart of the seed's shell, what no one saw beneath the surface is about to be seen. But the emergence doesn't mean completion. It means the beginning of something new. You are not arriving at a finish line. You are being ushered to a starting gate. This is a launching moment, not a landing one, and it requires you to be spiritually alert, because if you misread the moment, you might expect rest when God is calling you to rise. You might expect celebration when heaven is commissioning you for movement. Heaven doesn't operate according to our calendar. It moves in cycles, in seasons, in divine patterns, and every pattern points to one truth. God prepares before he reveals. God establishes roots before he shows fruit. And when the moment of activation comes, he doesn't explain, it's simply time. For those who have been forged in the fire, this date is not symbolic, it's sacred. It is a portal through which you step into new territory, not because you earned it, but because you were faithful when no one was watching. The thing about divine activation is that it won't always feel dramatic. You may not feel different on the outside. There may not be trumpets or announcements, but you will sense it in your spirit that something has shifted, that something has begun, that the internal stirring has now aligned with external movement. This is where vision becomes visible, where the someday becomes now, where the prophetic promise begins to take shape in real time. But this kind of moment doesn't just invite participation, it demands responsibility. Because once something is activated, it can't be hidden again. Once you cross the threshold, you can't go back to pretending you didn't hear, that you didn't know, that you weren't called. Activation doesn't just empower, it exposes. It exposes whether your character can carry the calling, whether your private life can sustain your public fruit, whether you have built your life on rock or sand. The very nature of this moment means you can't stay passive anymore. This is why March 31 is weighty, not because something ends, but because something begins. And beginnings require boldness, they require movement, they require trust. You won't have all the steps laid out, you may not see the full picture, but you will know this, it's time. And if you've been listening, really listening, you'll know that March 31 isn't about a day, it's about a door. One that only opens to the ones prepared to walk through it. Not in fear, not in hesitation, but in faith. You are not standing at the edge of closure. You are standing at the threshold of calling. March 31 is not the conclusion of your wilderness, it is the beginning of your commissioning. So rise, not as someone who has arrived, but as someone who has been made ready. The activation has begun. Heaven is not silent right now. It is speaking, moving, realigning, and preparing to release what has been held back for the appointed time. This is not just a personal moment. It is a strategic shift in the spirit. The earth is trembling under the weight of transition, and heaven is orchestrating a divine exchange. What does that mean? It means that assignments are being reassigned. Roles are shifting, some are being relieved, others are being promoted, and mantles, the weighty coverings of spiritual responsibility, calling, and authority are being passed to those who have been tested, not just those who have been seen. We are in a moment where heaven is redistributing responsibility. Some have grown weary in their assignments, and heaven is graciously lifting the weight off of them, not as punishment, but as protection. Others have been in preparation, hidden and waiting, not realizing that what they were carrying in secret was never for themselves alone, but for this very hour. A mantle is not just a symbol of calling, it is a weight. It is a divine garment that signifies authority, yes, but also accountability. It is not given lightly. It is not something one grasps. It is something heaven bestows. There is a holy seriousness in the air, because when God begins to shift mantles, it means a new era is breaking in. We've seen this pattern in Scripture. Elijah's mantle didn't fall until Elisha walked closely enough, persistently enough, faithfully enough to receive it. Joseph was not handed Pharaoh's signet ring until he had been tested in betrayal, prison, and obscurity. David didn't step into kingship until he had passed through the caves, the rejection, the years of serving another man's throne. And when the shift came, it was sudden, but it was only sudden in the natural. Heaven had been planning it all along. March 31 is a moment in time where the Spirit of God is releasing new orders. The old systems will not hold what is coming. The old strategies, the old mindsets, even the old alliances, some of them must fall away, because the new assignments are not tweaks to the past, they are births of the future. God is calling forth voices that have been in the wilderness. He is awakening visionaries who have been buried beneath disappointment. He is clothing leaders in mantles of mercy, of justice, of fire, and of wisdom. Because what's coming next requires those who are rooted, not just gifted. If you feel the weight of this season, it is because heaven is placing something on your shoulders that wasn't there before. It may feel heavy, but it is holy. You may not feel qualified, but that's the point. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And this is your moment to step into what was always yours, but had to wait until you were ready, until your character caught up with your calling, until your posture matched your purpose. So what do you do when heaven is releasing assignments and mantles? You don't grab, you surrender. You don't push to the front, you fall on your face. Because mantles do not rest on the proud, they fall on the humble, the yielded, the faithful, the ones who carry the fear of the Lord, not just the desire to be used. The ones who understand that being chosen isn't about elevation, it's about responsibility. There is a mantle with your name on it, and heaven is waiting to place it. Not because you are perfect, but because you've been made ready through the fire. March 31 may be the day your name is called. The day the old assignments shift and the new ones are released. The day your private obedience becomes public authority. So watch, listen, be ready. The hand of God is moving, and when He moves, everything changes. Preparation is not just about knowledge or readiness in the natural, it is about consecration. This is the heartbeat of this moment, not more doing, but deeper devotion. As March 31 approaches, the Spirit is not calling for busyness, ambition, or even planning. Heaven is calling for holiness, for purity, for surrender, for a level of set-apart living that cannot be fabricated, imitated, or rushed, because what is coming cannot rest on the flesh. It will not be sustained by charisma or competence. It will only rest on the shoulders of those who have chosen to set themselves apart, to be wholly His. Consecration is not a trendy word. It's not a casual concept. It is the way of the kingdom. It is the sacred pattern repeated throughout Scripture whenever God was about to move. Before the Israelites crossed the Jordan into their promise, Joshua said, "Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you." Before Moses encountered the glory on the mountain, the people had to wash, to prepare, to separate themselves from the ordinary. Before the fire fell on Mount Carmel, Elijah rebuilt the altar. That is the essence of consecration. It is the rebuilding of the altar in your life. It is the returning of your heart, your motives, your time, and your affections fully to God. It is the invitation to say, nothing is off limits anymore, Lord. Take it all. You cannot walk into divine assignments with divided loyalty. You cannot carry fresh oil in a contaminated vessel. The weight of what heaven wants to release on March 31 demands a purity of heart, not just clarity of vision. You cannot fake consecration. You can fake gifting, you can fake language, you can even fake spiritual knowledge, but you cannot fake fire. And fire only falls where there is sacrifice. If you want the fire of God, you must prepare the altar of your life with obedience, repentance, and surrender. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because you recognize that to carry something holy, you must be holy. This isn't about legalism, this is about alignment. Consecration is not about following rules, it's about being in right position. It's about tuning your heart to the frequency of heaven so that when God speaks, you hear clearly. So that when He moves, you don't hesitate. So that when He whispers, you don't miss it. God is not looking for the loudest voice. He's looking for the purest vessel. And the ones who prepare themselves in the secret place will be the ones He trusts with His secrets. This kind of preparation costs something. It costs comfort, it costs convenience, it may cost relationships, platforms, or habits that have become familiar but are no longer fruitful. But what you gain in return is everything. You gain clarity. You gain access. You gain the nearness of God in a way that transforms you from the inside out. Consecration is where the supernatural becomes normal. It's where your identity is solidified and your ears are opened. It's where oil is produced, not the kind you borrow from others, but the kind that flows from your own crushing, your own pressing, your own. Yes, March 31 is not about an emotional moment. It is about holy momentum. And you will only move with it if you've made space for it. Heaven is not looking for those who are simply ready to receive a word. It is looking for those who are ready to become the word, to embody what they've been shown, to steward what they've been given. And that begins with consecration. It begins with a clean heart, a laid down life, a posture that says, whatever it takes, Lord, prepare me. So now is not the time to be casual. Now is not the time to coast. Now is the time to press in, to examine your heart, to return to your first love, to clear the noise and make room for the glory, because what is coming is too costly, too holy, and too powerful to rest on anything that isn't fully surrendered. The ones who will move with heaven in this hour are not the clever, but the consecrated. They are the ones who have counted the cost and still said yes.